Ethan Miller never believed in fate. He lived a simple life in a small town in Ohio. He woke up early, went to work at a local repair shop, came home and spent most evenings alone. He was quiet, careful, and never expected anything exciting to happen in his life. But everything changed on a rainy Thursday evening. The sky was dark, and the streets were empty. Ethan walked down the sidewalk with his hoodie pulled over his head, trying to stay dry. He planned to go straight home, but something caught his eye: a small thrift shop at the end of the block. Its neon sign flickered weakly, glowing second chance finds. Ethan didn't remember seeing the shop there before. Maybe he never paid attention. Still, something about the shop pulled him in. As he stepped inside, a small bell rang above the door. The air smelled like old books, dust, and forgotten memories. Shelves were full of strange items: cracked picture frames, old clocks, broken toys, and clothes from another time. The place felt different, like it had secrets hidden in every corner. Behind the counter sat an old man with silver hair and a tired expression. He didn't look up when Ethan entered. He simply said, in a low voice, "You came for the suitcase." Ethan frowned. "What suitcase?" The old man slowly pointed toward a dusty brown suitcase sitting on a chair near the counter. It was old, maybe from the 1990s, with worn leather edges and a faded tag. Ethan had not even noticed it before. But now that he looked, he felt something strange, like the suitcase was waiting for him. "This one," the old man said, pushing it gently toward him. "Some things choose their owners." Ethan let out a nervous laugh. "I didn't come for anything. I just stepped in to look around." But the old man didn't smile. He just nodded toward the suitcase again. "You should take it." For reasons he couldn't explain, Ethan felt a pull inside his chest. He touched the handle. It was cold, colder than anything else in the room. He swallowed hard. "How much?" $20, the old man replied without looking up. Ethan paid and walked out with the suitcase in his hand. As soon as he stepped outside, he looked back, but the shop behind him was completely dark. The neon sign was off. He wasn't even sure the shop was open. For a second, it almost looked abandoned. He shook his head. Maybe he was tired. Maybe he imagined it. At home, Ethan placed the suitcase on his small kitchen table. Rain tapped softly against the windows, and thunder rumbled far away. He dried his hands, took a deep breath, and slowly unlatched the suitcase. The lock clicked open. Inside, he found several old items neatly arranged, as if someone wanted the next person to understand a story. There was a diary, its pages yellowed with age. A Polaroid picture of a teenage girl smiling at the camera. A heart-shaped locket, still shiny even after years. A bus ticket, old and faded, for a route he didn't recognize. And a small envelope, sealed with red wax. On the front, in neat handwriting, were the words, "Do not open unless you truly care." Ethan felt chills down his arms. The room suddenly felt colder. He picked up the Polaroid picture first. The girl in the picture had long blonde hair and bright eyes. She was smiling, but there was something strange about it, something sad, something scared. Behind her, in the background, there was a shadowy figure, blurry and hard to see. He turned the picture over. On the back someone had written, "Emily 2001. Ethan looked at the diary next. Its cover was soft and worn out. When he opened the first page, he froze. The first line read, "If you are reading this, please help me. My name is Emily Carter." Ethan blinked, unsure if he read it correctly. He read the line again. His heart started to beat faster. He flipped to the next page, but before he could read more, the lights in his house flickered. Once, twice, then returned to normal. His breath caught in his throat. He listened carefully. His house was silent. Too silent. He turned back to the diary and read another sentence. I don't know who will find this, but I need you to finish what I couldn't. Ethan looked around his kitchen. The shadows seemed longer than before. Suddenly, a soft whisper echoed in the room. Ethan. He dropped the diary. His blood ran cold. He was alone. Completely alone. No TV, no radio, no open windows, nothing that could make a voice. Ethan slowly picked up the diary again, hands shaking. Before he could read another line, the red wax envelope slid, on its own, a few inches inside the suitcase. Ethan stared, frozen. The envelope moved again. Just a small shift, like something inside wanted to come out. Thunder cracked outside, shaking the windows. Ethan felt his heartbeat in his ears. Something was wrong. Very wrong. He looked at Emily's picture once more, and the shadow behind her suddenly seemed clearer than before. He whispered to himself, "What did I bring into my home?" But he already knew. This was no ordinary suitcase. This was a story someone wanted to be told. A story that wasn't finished. And Ethan was now a part of it. Ethan barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the Polaroid picture of Emily, and the shadow standing behind her. He heard the whisper calling his name. He saw the envelope sliding on its own. Nothing made sense. By morning, he felt exhausted, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. He sat at his kitchen table, the suitcase open in front of him, and stared at the diary. He took a deep breath and began reading again. The next page of the diary said, "If you found my suitcase, it means the truth is still hidden. Please don't stop reading." Ethan's fingers trembled slightly. Emily's handwriting continued. "There is someone who doesn't want my story told. If you see him in the pictures, stay away." Ethan quickly grabbed the Polaroid again. His eyes went straight to the shadowy figure behind Emily. It looked like a man. He couldn't see the face, but the shape was there, tall, standing too close, like he was watching her. A cold feeling spread through Ethan's chest. He returned to the diary. Emily wrote, "My name is Emily Carter. I'm 17 years old. I fell in love with someone I shouldn't have." Ethan frowned. The sentence ended there. The next page was ripped out. He kept reading. "If anything happens to me, it will be because of him." Him? Who? Ethan whispered to himself. He flipped through more pages. Many were missing, like someone tore them out carefully. But a few entries remained. Emily talked about sneaking out of her house, meeting a boy named Ryan, laughing, planning a future. A beautiful teenage love. But then her writing changed. It became shaky, messy. He found out about Ryan. He said he would stop us. He said I belonged to him. Ethan's grip tightened on the diary. Who was she talking about? A father? A stranger? Someone dangerous? Before he could read more, his phone buzzed. It was a text from his coworker reminding him about his shift. Ethan ignored it. Work could wait. The suitcase couldn't. He put the diary down and examined the other items again. The bus ticket. The locket. The Polaroid. The sealed envelope. He touched the bus ticket. The date said May 12, 2001, the day Emily wrote her last diary entry. Was she planning to run away? He whispered. The ticket had the name of a bus route that didn't exist anymore. He quickly searched it on his phone. No results. No records. It was like the route had been erased. Ethan's heart beat a little faster. Something wasn't right. He had to know more. He grabbed his car keys and drove out of town. His first stop was the small local library. A quiet place where old newspapers and records were kept. Inside, he approached the librarian, An older woman with soft eyes. "Hi," he said slowly. "Do you know anything about a girl named Emily Carter? From around 2001. The woman froze. She stared at him for a long second before replying. "Why do you ask?" Ethan hesitated. "I found something that belonged to her." The librarian looked down, almost afraid. Then she motioned for him to follow her. In a quiet corner of the library, she handed him an old newspaper from 2001. The headline read, "Teenage girl Emily Carter missing, last seen at old bus stop." Ethan's heart dropped. He read the article quickly. Emily Carter, 17, disappeared on May 12, 2001. She was last seen waiting at the old Route 6 bus stop. Police found no clues. No suspects. Her case went cold. He swallowed hard. The librarian whispered, "People still talk about her. Some say she ran away. Some say something else happened." "What something else?" Ethan asked. The librarian shook her head. "Dark stories. Things better left alone." Ethan knew he couldn't leave it alone. He thanked the librarian and walked outside. The sun felt dim, like a storm was coming. He sat in his car, opened the diary again, and found another entry written in a hurry. "If you find the suitcase, please help me finish what I started. Please find Ryan." "Ryan," Ethan said softly. He searched the name. Many Ryans lived in Ohio, but only one matched the timeline: Ryan Walker, who was 18 in 2001. Ethan clicked the first article he found about him. Missing. Just like Emily. Also from 2001. His breath caught. Two teenagers in love. Both missing. Both connected to the same day. Ethan didn't know what to think anymore. He leaned back in his seat, trying to understand, and that was when he felt it. Cold air, inside the car. Too cold. He looked around. No vents were open. The windows were closed. But the temperature dropped sharply, and the hairs on his arms stood up. Then he heard it again. A soft whisper. "Ethan." His blood ran ice cold. The whisper sounded like a girl's voice, young, pleading. He turned his head slowly toward the passenger seat. The Polaroid picture of Emily, which he had left at home, was now lying on the seat next to him. Ethan's mouth went dry. "How did you get here?" he whispered. He picked up the picture with shaking fingers. And this time, the shadow behind Emily looked even clearer. It was now a man's silhouette. A man standing right behind her. A man reaching toward her. Ethan's heart pounded violently. Whatever happened in 2001? Whatever happened to Emily and Ryan? It wasn't finished. And now it was following him. Ethan could barely breathe. The Polaroid on the passenger seat trembled slightly in his hands, as if it had a life of its own. The shadow behind Emily's image seemed darker, sharper, more real. He didn't know what was happening, but he knew one thing: this was no ordinary story. Back home, Ethan placed the Polaroid carefully on his table and opened the red wax envelope he had not dared touch before. His hands shook as he broke the seal. Inside was a folded piece of paper, a small map. The map was old, yellowed with age, and marked with a bright red circle in the middle of a forested area. A note accompanied it, written in the same neat handwriting as Emily's diary. "Find the truth where love was lost." Ethan stared at it. His mind raced. The forest was near the old bus route. He remembered the bus ticket from 2001, the day Emily disappeared. Could it really be that simple? That the map would lead him to the truth? He looked again at the heart-shaped locket. He had never opened it. With trembling fingers, he clicked it open. Inside, there was a tiny picture of Emily and a young man, Ryan, smiling, their hands intertwined. The photo's edges were singed, burned slightly, as though someone had tried to destroy it. Ethan's stomach tightened. Whoever tried to hide the story had failed. He now held the only evidence of their love. He packed the diary, the locket, and the map into a backpack. With a flashlight in hand, he drove to the forest. Night had fallen. Fog hovered low above the ground, and the trees were tall, black, and silent. Every step he took on the muddy path made a loud squish. The red circle on the map guided him deeper and deeper into the woods. Finally, he reached an abandoned bus stop, weathered by time. The paint was peeling, the roof sagging, and weeds had grown through the cracks of the concrete. The wind whispered softly through the trees, carrying a cold, almost sad feeling. Ethan's flashlight flickered. He knelt down to examine the bench. Carved into the old wood, almost faded with age, were letters. E+R forever. Ethan's hands froze on the rough wood. He traced the letters gently with his fingers. Two lovers, their initials. Two people connected by love, but separated by fate. Then, he noticed something in the shadows. A figure was standing across the road. A middle-aged man, tall and thin, wearing a long coat. Ethan's heart skipped. The man didn't move. He just watched Ethan silently. Then, without a word, he turned and disappeared into the dark trees. Ethan's pulse raced. Who was he? A protector? A threat? Or someone who had waited all these years for the truth to be found? He focused back on the bench. There was more small etchings, almost hidden under moss. Another date, May 12, 2001. The same day Emily vanished. Ethan whispered under his breath, "This is where it happened, where they lost each other." He opened the diary and began reading aloud to himself, even though the forest felt alive, listening. Ryan said he would meet me here. We were supposed to leave together. But he never came. I waited, and then I heard him scream. Someone grabbed him. I don't know who. I ran. I ran as fast as I could. Ethan's fingers tightened around the diary. The story was more terrifying than he had imagined. They had planned to escape together, and something had gone horribly wrong. He took a deep breath and held up the locket. The tiny picture of Emily and Ryan seemed almost to glow in the flashlight's beam. Ethan felt a strange pull in his chest, as if the love between them had reached across time, calling him to finish what they could not. Suddenly, he heard a rustle behind him. The forest was silent except for the wind. He spun around, but no one was there. Only shadows. Then the whisper came again, soft, almost desperate. Ethan. He froze. The voice was the same as before, young, trembling, sad. Ethan whispered back, "I'm here. I will help you." The forest seemed to exhale, the wind slowing. Ethan could feel it now, the energy of two lives trapped between time, longing for someone to reveal the truth. He knew he was meant to be here. He looked again at the map. A second red circle had been drawn faintly, almost invisible. It led to a small clearing near the bus stop, hidden behind thick trees. With the flashlight, Ethan pushed through the brush and found a small, half-buried metal box. His heart pounded. He opened it carefully. Inside was a bundle of letters tied with a ribbon, old photographs of Emily and Ryan, and a small notebook, Ryan's handwriting this time. Ethan picked up the notebook and read aloud. "Emily, if anyone finds this, know that I loved her more than life itself. That night, I tried to save her. But they stopped me. Whoever reads this must understand, love never dies." Ethan's hands shook. The story was even deeper than he had imagined. Two teenagers, caught in a world that wanted to tear them apart. Two hearts lost, waiting for someone to discover their truth. He looked at the locket again. Emily's image seemed to smile faintly at him. Ethan whispered, "I will finish your story. I promise." The forest around him seemed to breathe. and in the shadows, Ethan felt it, a presence, watching, waiting, but not threatening. Just hoping. Something told him that the next step would bring him face to face with the truth about Emily and Ryan, a truth that had been hidden for 20 years. And he had no idea how close he was to discovering it. Ethan left the forest that night with the metal box, the locket, and the diaries safely in his backpack. His mind was full of questions. Who had tried to stop Emily and Ryan? Why were their stories hidden for 20 years? And most importantly, what had really happened that night at the bus stop? The next morning, he visited a small cafe in town, hoping for answers. He had learned of one person who might know something: Jacob Walker, Ryan's younger brother. Jacob had lived in Ohio all his life and was now in his late 30s. Ethan had found his contact in an old newspaper article about Ryan's disappearance. Jacob was sitting alone, drinking black coffee, when Ethan approached. He hesitated for a moment, unsure how to start, then spoke. "Jacob Walker." The man looked up. His eyes widened slightly, and he tensed. "Yes. I think I have something that belonged to your brother." Ethan showed the locket, carefully holding it. Jacob's hands shook as he took it. He opened the heart-shaped locket and stared at the tiny picture of Ryan and Emily, their hands intertwined. They were happy," Jacob whispered, almost in disbelief. "I never thought I'd see this again." Ethan opened the metal box. He carefully laid out the letters, the photographs, and the notebook in front of Jacob. Jacob picked up Ryan's notebook and began reading aloud. Tears filled his eyes. "Emily, I tried to save you that night. But someone stopped me. I don't know if anyone will find this, but I will love you forever." Jacob choked back a sob. Ryan never gave up looking for her. He searched for years, but he never found her. Not a single clue. He believed she was alive, somewhere, waiting. And I didn't know how to tell him she was gone. Ethan asked carefully, "Do you know what happened that night?" Jacob nodded slowly. "Yes. I think so. My brother told me once, long ago. Emily's family, her father, he didn't approve of their love. Ryan tried to help her run away. But her father found out. That night, he stopped them. I think he hurt Ryan before Ryan could escape. Emily ran, but no one ever saw her again. It was chaos. Everyone kept it secret, no one wanted the scandal." Ethan's stomach turned. The story was even darker than he had imagined. Two young lovers, punished for loving each other. Jacob continued, "Ryan searched everywhere. He never stopped. But he grew older, and then he died, still looking for her. I think he wanted someone to finish their story. Someone to find Emily." Ethan felt a strange shiver. "So, you're saying Emily might still be alive?" Jacob shook his head slowly. "I don't know. I've hoped, but it's been 20 years. I don't even know if she's alive or gone." Ethan looked at the letters again. Emily's diary, Ryan's notebook, the photographs, they told a story of love, hope, and fear. And now, in Ethan's hands, their story could finally be told. He spent the day with Jacob, piecing together the events of that fateful night. He learned that Emily and Ryan had planned to escape to another city, to live freely, away from family pressures. But Emily's father had discovered their plan. He chased them to the bus stop. Ryan had tried to fight back, but he was overpowered. Emily ran into the forest, never to be seen by anyone again. Jacob showed Ethan an old key Ryan had left behind. "This was for Emily's house," he said. He wanted her to come back if it was ever safe. Ethan held the key tightly. He realized how much danger Emily and Ryan had faced and how much love had endured despite it all. That night, Ethan returned home. He laid everything out on his table. The Polaroid, the locket, the diaries, the letters, the bus ticket, and the envelope. He felt the weight of the story pressing down on him. He whispered softly, "I'll tell your story. I promise. No one will forget you." As he spoke, he noticed the locket glint in the moonlight. Something about it felt alive. It was almost as if Emily and Ryan were there with him, guiding him, watching him. Then he heard it. That soft, familiar whisper. "Ethan." His heart raced. He turned toward the sound, expecting nothing, and saw a faint figure in the doorway of his room. It was a woman. Young, with long blonde hair, just like the picture. Her eyes were sad but kind. Ethan's mouth went dry. "Emily." The woman smiled softly, a quiet, almost invisible glow surrounding her. "Thank you, for finding us. For finishing our story." Ethan wanted to speak, to ask 100 questions, but she shook her head gently. "It's done now. Tell them our story, and let the world remember love that never dies." Then, just as quickly as she appeared, she faded into the air, leaving only a faint scent of rain and old wood. Ethan stood in silence, heart pounding, feeling both awe and sorrow. He looked at the locket in his hands. The tiny picture of Emily and Ryan seemed to shine brighter than before. He knew one thing. Their love had endured 20 years of silence, fear, and separation. But now, it was his responsibility to make the world remember. And he would. The next morning, Ethan woke up with the sunlight filtering through his window. The events of last night felt almost unreal. Emily had appeared, spoken, and then vanished. The locket in his hand felt warm, as if it held a heartbeat. But the question still lingered, was she truly gone, or was she still out there, waiting? He placed all the items on his table: diaries, letters, Polaroid, bus ticket, locket, and looked at them. Every object carried a piece of Emily and Ryan's story. 20 years of silence, fear, and mystery, now resting in his hands. He knew he couldn't keep this to himself. Their love story had to be told. As he prepared to leave the house, he noticed something unusual on his doorstep, a small, wrapped package. He picked it up carefully. Inside, he found a new Polaroid photograph. His eyes widened. It was Emily standing in the forest, smiling faintly, but she was holding Ethan's backpack in her hands, the same one he had carried into the woods last night. And written on the back in delicate handwriting were the words, "Set my story free." Ethan felt a chill. The message was clear: Emily and Ryan's story was now his responsibility. But there was more to it. The Polaroid showed the forest from last night, yet it looked older, untouched by time. Almost as if the photograph was from another world. He stepped outside, the cool morning air filling his lungs. The forest behind his house looked normal, peaceful, yet something in the shadows made him pause. He remembered the whispers, the flickering lights, the cold air, and the way the locket had glowed. There was something supernatural at play. Determined to understand, Ethan returned to the old bus stop where he had found the metal box. The forest path was now bathed in the soft golden light of morning. The bus stop looked abandoned and empty. But as he approached the bench, he noticed small footprints in the dirt. They were fresh, small, delicate, like Emily's. Ethan's heart pounded. Could it really be her? He whispered. He followed the footprints cautiously. They led him to a clearing in the woods he had not seen before. And there, standing near an ancient oak tree, was a figure. The same girl from the Polaroid. Emily. But her eyes carried the wisdom and calm of someone who had waited a long time. She smiled softly. "Ethan, you've done it. You've found us." Ethan stepped closer, but before he could speak, a sudden breeze swept through the clearing. Emily's form shimmered like mist, and for a moment, she seemed almost untouchable. "I don't understand," Ethan said, voice trembling. How are you here? You disappeared 20 years ago. Emily's voice was gentle. Time doesn't hold us the way it holds others. Ryan and I, we were trapped. Not in the world, but in the story. Every object you found, every page you read, every photograph, they were pieces of us waiting to be seen, waiting to be remembered. Ethan swallowed hard. So, you were, waiting for me. Yes, she said. You were chosen. Just like the old man said in the thrift shop. Some stories need someone to set them free. Someone to tell the world our love, and the truth. Ethan realized the truth of her words. He had not merely found a suitcase, he had found a life, a mystery, a love that had survived decades. And now, he was the bridge between the past and the present. Emily reached out, and the locket in Ethan's hand warmed as if responding to her. Tell them about us. Tell them the love we could not live openly, and the courage it took to fight for it, even in the shadows. Ethan nodded, unable to speak. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also a strange peace. He knew what he had to do. Then, as suddenly as she appeared, Emily began to fade. Her form grew lighter, almost like smoke, until she was gone. But Ethan knew she was free. The story was no longer trapped in the suitcase, the diaries, or the photographs. It was alive in him now. Returning home, Ethan placed everything carefully on the table. He took a deep breath and started writing. He wrote the story of Emily and Ryan, of love, loss, courage, and hope. He told the world about the old suitcase, the diary, the locket, and the hidden truth of two hearts that had endured the impossible. Days later, a small package arrived at his door. Inside was the Polaroid from the forest. But now, Ethan noticed something remarkable. In the photograph, Emily's figure had shifted slightly. She was no longer holding his backpack. Instead, she was smiling directly at the camera, her eyes sparkling with a secret joy. On the back, another message was written. Now we can rest. Thank you. Ethan smiled through tears. The story was complete. Emily and Ryan's love, once hidden, was now immortal. And he knew, deep in his heart, that some stories, no matter how old, find their way to the right person, someone who will keep their memory alive forever. The suitcase in his home was empty now, but it was no longer needed. The story had been freed. And in the quiet of his apartment, Ethan felt a presence not frightening, but gentle, warm, and protective. Somewhere, somehow, Emily and Ryan were at peace. And their love would never be forgotten. White heavy check marked the end.